I was on the front line when it came to me. I was fighting for my homeland, for my family, for her peace of mind, and she betrayed me. While I was spilling blood and risking my life, Alya found comfort in the arms of others. An unfaithful wife. Unworthy of even a mention among those I protected. When you see death at every turn, betrayal stings more than any enemy shot.
Thank you for watching my channel. I create videos for your enjoyment. Please subscribe if you want to support my efforts, it's very important to me. I apologize in advance for any mistakes, dubbing is done by neural network. Please point out mistakes in the comments so I can correct them.
My hands trembled, but not from fear of death, no. I thought of how I would return home. I thought about how I would look into her eyes and how she would lie, try to justify herself, how her lips that I had once kissed with love would utter words that didn't matter. I already knew the truth. And now there was only one thing left for me to do: punish her. For every lie. For every cheat. For every look she gave me that wasn't directed at me. The front is not only war, it's a hellish mix of hopes, fears, and expectations. Every morning when I woke up in the trenches, I thought about one thing: how was Olivia? Every minute I spent under fire, the same question burst into my thoughts. It seemed to me that she was the only thing keeping me in this world, that her love was the only thing that remained pure and untouched amidst all the filth and death. But the front is where the truth is exposed like rusty steel. It's a place where rumors spread faster than bullets, and no lie remains hidden. At first there were whispers, quiet, barely audible, like rustles in the night. I paid no attention to them, waved them away like pesky flies. Someone mentioned in passing that my wife was not bored in the rear, that she had been seen in the company of some guy, that she was no longer alone, that she was noticed too often at parties. It's all nonsense, I said to myself, trying to drown out the fear growing inside me. It's just jealous people, people who can't accept other people's happiness. But the fear remained. It was like a splinter that wouldn't let go, even when you couldn't see it. The fear grew stronger every day, and at one point it became too palpable to ignore. It all started when one of my co-workers, Victor, approached me during a spare moment. He was one of the guys with whom I often shared meals and vodka, and who had my back more than once in combat. His face was serious, and in his eyes I could see what I feared most of all: pity. "Dennis, listen," he began, hesitating and looking around, as if he didn't know where to start. "Here's the thing. Well, in general, I heard that you have problems with Alya." "Problems? What do you mean?" I asked, feeling my heart skip a beat. "Yeah, you know, there's a rumor going around. I didn't want to tell you, but I can't keep quiet, bro. Saw something you need to know." He handed me a cell phone. I looked at the screen, and the world around me froze. There were screenshots of a text message. Olivia. My Olivia. Her number, her avatar photo. But the texts, those words she was writing, they weren't for me. "I miss you, honey. When will I see you again?" That night was incredible. She wasn't saying those things to me. Not me. "This is some kind of mistake," I mumbled, as if trying to convince myself, not Victor. But even I didn't believe it. "That's not all," Victor added, lowering his eyes. "They say she's not just with this guy. She's been seen with others. She lives as she wants in the rear, you know? And it's not just talk. These screenshots have been circulating in the units. Everybody knows. Everybody already knows." Those words echoed in my head like someone poured salt on an open wound. I could feel something inside me breaking, my heart turning into splinters that stabbed into my chest. I was angry, furious, but it wasn't the kind of anger that could be spewed out in battle. It was an anger that burned from the inside out, an anger that knew no outlet. I tried to calm myself down, tried to find some explanation for it. This can't be true. This is some kind of mistake. But inside, I already knew it was true. The rumors, the whispers, all those screenshots. They couldn't have been an accident. The days after that conversation dragged on slowly and painfully. I tried to focus on my combat missions, but thoughts of Olivia and her betrayal kept me on my toes. All those rumors and screenshots could have been fake, a malicious joke, something that could be blamed on a hostile environment, but every time I looked at those messages, a new fire was lit in my soul. Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, George, my coworker, called again. This time his voice sounded even more tense than before. "Dennis, there's something I need to show you," he began, pausing. "It's important." "Go ahead, George." "What is it?" I answered, trying not to sound worried. but my heart was already beating faster than usual. It's about Olivia. You should know. Everything inside of me shifted. I'd already suspected what this was about, but I'd hoped it was just paranoia. However, George wasn't the kind of person who just started rumors. He sent me some screenshots. I opened them with trembling hands. The first frames showed intimate correspondence. Olivia was flirting, exchanging photos, joking on the edge of decency with another man. Her heart was pounding in her chest, so hard it felt like it was about to jump out. But then the next message came. "There's more," I read and saw the video file. George had sent it with the comment, "Look, Dennis, I know it's hard, but you have to see it for yourself." At first I didn't want to open it, but an inner voice whispered that I should know the whole truth. Clicking play, I saw Olivia, my wife, was in the arms of two men. They didn't look like what you could call men in the normal sense, more like drunks and the dregs of society. They were doing to her what I couldn't call anything but filth. At one point one of them laughed and said something that made me freeze. "Those are real men, not like your Dennis," one of them shouted, and I heard Olivia's laughter in response, which cut right through me. "Yeah, you're right, Dennis isn't a real man," she said, and it was like a dagger in my heart. I stopped the video, but that voice, that laugh, and her words were already stuck in my mind. This wasn't just cheating. It was betrayal, a mockery of me, someone who had risked her life protecting them all, including her. She was calling these scum real men, and she was calling me not a man. I felt the anger come in waves. The whole world around me narrowed down to one thought: I have to get revenge. I have to show her who the real man is. I defended my country, I shed blood, I gave everything I had, and she humiliated me like no one else. After I saw that video, something inside me broke. The anger I had held back until that moment tore me to pieces. I couldn't eat, sleep, or think about anything else. Olivia. Her laughter, her mocking words, those pathetic men she called real. It was eating me up inside like acid. I took a vacation, and soon found myself at home. As I entered the apartment, I felt a new feeling overwhelming me: hatred. It was everywhere, in our pictures, in her clothes, in the smell I had once loved. And then she walked in. When she saw me, she stopped on the threshold, surprised and slightly frightened. "Dennis, you're back?" Her voice was the same as always, but now it only disgusted me. "Yes, I'm back," I answered, trying to keep my voice calm, but it sounded like cold metal. She came toward me, trying to kiss me, but I pulled away. I saw her face change as she realized something was wrong. "What's wrong?" she asked, but I didn't answer. "Olivia, how many times?" I asked quietly, looking her straight in the eye. "What?" She seemed confused, but I could see the fear in her eyes. "How many times did you sleep with them?" "How many?" My voice was almost a whisper, but every phrase cut her like a knife. "Dennis, it's not what you think," she started to justify herself, but I interrupted her. "No more lies," I couldn't help myself. I grabbed her hand, pulling her to me. "You humiliated me while I was defending my country. You laughed at me with those bastards." She tried to free herself, but I held her tight. Her frightened look made me even more furious. "Denise, let me go, you're scaring me," Olivia started to cry, but her tears didn't touch me. The only thing I wanted to do at that moment was to make her feel the same pain I felt. I don't remember how it happened. One moment I was staring at her face, and the next, my hand was already crashing into her cheek. She flew backward, hit the wall, and slid to the floor, sobbing. But that didn't stop me. I hit her again and again until I realized that if I kept going, I wouldn't be able to stop. I watched her as she lay there, curled up in a ball, covered in tears and bruises, and I suddenly realized that it wasn't easy enough to humiliate her like that. It's too easy. She deserved more than that. As my anger began to fade, cold calculation returned to me. I realized that physical revenge wouldn't give me long-term satisfaction. No, I wanted her life ruined the way she'd ruined mine. And beating her wasn't enough. I began to think of ways to take away everything she held dear, everything that made her feel safe and comfortable. "I'm filing for divorce," I told her, when she came to her senses and was able to get up off the floor. "No, Dennis, please," she began, but I interrupted her abruptly. "You're losing everything. I'll take away your apartment and your money. You'll be left with nothing." I looked at her with coldness in my eyes. "I'll make sure you'll never be able to find a place in your life again." The first thing I did was find a lawyer and start the divorce process. Since the apartment and most of the money was in my name, it wasn't difficult. Olivia tried to argue, tried to fight, but eventually she realized that she had lost everything. All she had left was a pittance of savings and a few possessions. I made her leave the apartment. She went to one of her friends, but that was only the beginning of my plan. The next step was to destroy her reputation. I gathered all the materials I had, correspondence, photos, videos, anything that proved she had cheated. I knew that just putting it on the internet wasn't enough. I wanted her world to fall apart, for everyone to see who she really was. I arranged for the compromising video to end up in the hands of her co-workers and superiors. Once, at a general meeting, I ensured that the video was shown in front of the entire staff. To see her blush, to see her eyes fill with terror as she realized there was no going back, was what I sought. Olivia lost her job when her superiors found out about her behavior. Her friends began to turn away from her, ashamed to be associated with such a woman. People began discussing her behind her back, mocking, pitying, and despising her. Olivia was left alone, completely shattered, with no livelihood and no support. She tried to find someone to support her, but no one wanted to deal with her. She tried calling me, begging for mercy, but I just deleted her messages and blocked her number. She no longer existed for me. When I became convinced that her life had become a living hell, I felt that I had taken my revenge in full. My soul was left devastated, but I knew one thing: she would never again be able to humiliate me or anyone else. Her existence had become a shadow of what it used to be, and she was forced to live with the realization that she had destroyed her own life. I looked at my former life as I stood on the doorstep of an empty apartment. Everything that connected me to the past had been destroyed. I had done it with my own hands, and now there was nothing left of my old illusions. Olivia had been punished, but along with her, a part of myself was gone. I felt an emptiness that filled me more and more every day. But when one life ends, another always begins. For me, it meant returning to the place where I had always felt needed, the front. I put my uniform back on, leaving all my civilian worries behind, and went back to doing what I knew best: defending my country. In the army, I felt like a real man. There was no room for betrayal and hypocrisy. Here everyone knew his place and his mission. I was surrounded by men like me who knew the value of honor and loyalty. They went through hell and came out of it only stronger. Here in the trenches and on the front lines, I felt alive, felt that I was needed, that my life had meaning. Service became everything to me. I no longer thought about what I had left behind. My life was devoted to one thing: to the defense of the motherland. And that's where I found my solace. I gave all of myself without a trace, to my comrades in arms and to the mission we carried. I was back to the man I was before I learned of Olivia's treachery, a loyal soldier, willing to go to the end for my beliefs. Every day at the front was equally difficult, but that was where I found my strength. I no longer thought about what I'd lost. Olivia and everything about her seemed like a distant dream that had nothing to do with reality. Here on the front lines, I found a new meaning: to serve and protect my comrades, those who were by my side in the most difficult moments. I realized that respect is not something that can be earned in everyday life. Respect must be earned in battles, in hardships, through pain and loss. And only those who have gone through it really deserve to be called men. The war purified me, made me stronger, showed me who I really am. I saw death, I saw people I knew and respected fall under bullets, but it only hardened me. I felt no fear, no regrets. My whole life became one long battle, and in that battle I found my meaning. I was moving up in the ranks, gaining the respect of my co-workers. They knew they could count on me, that I would never let them down. And that was my greatest reward. I stopped thinking about what was ahead of me and lived only for the present, every day, which brought me a sense of accomplished duty. But even at the front, when it became quiet, when the howling was on the front line and the nights were long, I began to think about what I had left behind. Memories came to me despite my best efforts to forget the past. I realized that the revenge to which I had devoted so much time and effort had not brought back my happiness. It had left behind nothing but emptiness. My life now belonged only to the army, and in that I found meaning, but even here among my comrades in arms, I realized that I no longer had a future to call my own. I had given my all to the service, but I had paid too high a price. The war had taken away not only my joy, but also the opportunity to start something new. Perhaps I can find peace in it. Perhaps I'll stay at the front until the very end. For here in the war, I feel that everything I do matters. Here I am real. Here I am a man who deserves respect. But at the same time I realized that with every minute spent in the trenches, I was losing a part of myself, a part of my soul. Now I lived in a world where the only meaning was to serve the motherland. I gave it all of myself without a trace, but I knew that my journey did not end there. There was only war ahead, and I was ready to go to the end, no matter how long it took. After all, it was only at the front that I felt truly alive.